Hi guys, today we have Ed Coan with us at the Table Talk. I've been following his work since I started powerlifting years ago, so it's an opportunity that I have to interview the man, actually the legend, shall I say. So first of all, how long have you been in the powerlifting world?
My first contest was in 1980, so quite a long time.
So you still train as today?
Yeah, I still train. I still train just hard enough. I don't want to overdo it due to wear and tear, and from hereditary. I had to have my hips replaced, and my shoulders are a little raw. I could have a little arthritis in there. So you only want to do too much, and you should only do too much at a certain point. You should definitely back off enough. Now it's I want to feel good, have less pain, and be healthy.
So,
but just strong enough, a little bit strong.
The meat world, I mean the competition world of powerlifting, it's over for you.
Yeah. There's no. I have nothing to prove anymore.
So you're done.
I'm done competing.
So what about coaching? You have any athletes that you're looking for?
I help a lot of people.
Okay.
I could just leave it at I help a lot of people. And I enjoy the heck out of it.
So from this career, what have you tried? I know that you tried bodybuilding, but have you tried like any sports like basketball?
I pretended to try bodybuilding when I was younger.
And you didn't like it, eh?
Well, I wasn't old enough and I didn't have enough muscle to appreciate it. If I would have started later, like after I stopped powerlifting, I probably would have done a lot better. But I was young and I wanted to get bigger and I wanted to be Arnold and Franco and stuff like that. So I did some of that.
So what's the difference for you in your head, like when you say I love powerlifting? What was the challenge of powerlifting versus the bodybuilding world?
I just, you know what, when I started lifting heavy, it was just something in me that fit perfect. I saw Kaz on TV. I saw him lift a whole bunch of weight. He was a monster. And it just did something to me. I was like, I want to try to be like that. And as soon as I started heavy squats, benches, and deadlift, my body took off and changed even better. And I just loved it.
So what was a template of training for you, let's say from Monday to Saturday or Sunday? What was like?
Back in the old days, it was like usually 5 days a week. Monday squat, Tuesday off. And when I squatted, I did all kinds of other leg stuff. Wednesday, I'd bench and do all my auxiliary stuff for chest and some triceps. Thursday, I'd come in and do nothing but shoulders. Friday, I would do deadlifts and back. And Saturday would be like wide grip benches, some other little exercises, and a little bit of extra bicep and stuff like that. Nothing big.
So it was simple.
It was pretty simple.
So at that time, were chains and bands and stuff like that were?
We just didn't know about them back then, so no one did them at the time.
So it was like, I call it raw powerlifting, like no chains, no bands.
Well,
like
no, it was just old school powerlifting.
Yeah.
We didn't know a lot of stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff that came about from like chains and bands with assistance works and stuff. That's really cool. Especially look at the band work that people do for rehab stuff, which is really, really neat and very, very valuable. So yeah.
But in your career, have you, like probably toward the end, have you ever worked with bands or chains?
Not really. Not really. No.
So it was always like old school stuff.
It was just old school stuff.
So from this, now you're a teacher, you're a coach, you're a mentor for a lot of people. But all those years you've accumulated a lot of knowledge and records and stuff like that. So can you just, for us, drop the numbers that you did in your career?
Let's see, I started growing really fast just from heavy weights. So I didn't ever always try to keep my weight down. I kind of let it go because I wanted to be big. That was the main thing. I wanted to be big and strong. So I didn't really care, but I did still care about how I looked. I'm lucky that I could never get fat. I just got bigger. I didn't get fat. So like at 165, I think I had done like a 310 squat, a 310 deadlift, and 190 or a little bit more bench. One time I went my very first nationals, I missed weight. I weighed in like half a kilo heavy, and so I had to move up to the 82-pound class, and I squatted 317, benched 195 5 and deadlifted 330 in that contest, which the deadlift and the total at the time would have been world records, but it didn't happen because
of the weight.
Yeah. And then at 82 and a half, I did a 355 squat. I came up with 365, but I think I cut it a little bit. My bench would have been higher, but I had a torn pec. I still benched 205 raw, and I pulled a 791 pound deadlift. Back in the old days when you used to have to follow yourself. And that was before deadlift bars.
What kind of bars you had at that time?
Just like a Texas Power Bar, 20 kilo all-purpose bar.
All-purpose.
Same bar for squat, bench, and deadlift.
Okay.
And then at 90 kilos, I did 859 squat, 859 deadlift, and a 501 bench. 1,000 kilo total. And 100 kilos is when I really excelled, where I filled out my body a little bit more. That's where I totaled 1,090 to 2402, and that was in an IPF meet, 2 hour weigh-ins, no squat or deadlift bar, and I think I squatted 959, which ended up being like 961. I benched 540. 545 in that contest, 247 and a half. Then that was raw too. And then I deadlifted like 409 or something, 901 in the contest.
So you were training for that, obviously, and getting your life around training, but what about the regular life, like working or whatever it is?
I worked.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you work how many hours a week, and how many hours a week of training about?
You
never calculated that?
Never calculated it. I had to train, and my mission was that.
And
I worked to make sure I had enough money to be able to train.
Exactly.
How I wanted.
So you were talking about equipment like bars and stuff like that. So now with the venue of all those monolifting and stuff like that, what's your take on that? Because the rack that we have downstairs,
if you're going in a federation that allows you to use a monolift, you use a monolift. I have a monolift at the gym, a gym I train at called Lance's in the city of Chicago, but I'd still like to walk it out of a monolift because there's more room. But if you have a monolift and you're in a contest and you don't use the monolift, that's a choice. If everyone else is using it, they're not wrong, you are. You got to get used to the equipment you're using. If you're going to go in an equipped meet and you go raw, don't bitch about it if someone beats you. That's simple.
So
I got nothing against what anybody does, actually, no.
So it's not like, it's not a good device or a good machine.
No,
it's
not
something
at all.
there that...
It's just something someone uses. I don't prefer to use it. That's just my preference.
Have you ever done meets on that?
I did one meet on it, but I walked it out.
You walked it out?
Yeah.
Right. So now as we grow older, in powerlifting, there's injuries. So how did you cope with your first injury? What was going through your head? Like, oh, fuck.
No, my first instinct is like, shit, I'm not going to be able to train. But then I worked around it and found what exercises similar to the one I got hurt on that I could still do. And I just worked my way back.
So in those days, was it physiotherapists, like doctors? What would...
Somewhat. I had a chiropractor I went and saw all the time. But at the same time, you start to learn how to do your own self-preservation and recover yourself.
So what did you do at that time?
Depended on the injuries.
Okay, so let's say...
A lot of it was rest and body movement.
What was the first
Getting
injury?
massages.
Actually? Knee?
No, pec.
So, the tore?
I tore my pec. But I only tore muscle. I didn't tear a tendon, so I didn't have to get surgery.
Okay.
So it was just rehab, body movement.
High reps?
High reps, but it was a lot of flies to stretch. It was a lot of self-massage. And just take your time coming back.
I know yesterday night at dinner we spoke about those young lifters that are starting powerlifting. And it's always like record over record over record, like max effort every day or whatever it is. What's your take on that? Because
a lot of times they won't last long, they'll burn out because there's only so many maxes that you can do before you end up getting hurt because you'll break your body down so much that it won't recover, and then one time something's going to snap because your technique will go bad on you.
So let's say that you're doing a full power meet.
Yeah.
How many meets per year should one do?
I only like to do 2 nationals and the worlds because it gave me a lot of time between the worlds and the nationals to do a bunch of training cycles to get strong and to lay a bigger, stronger base down, which is what I wanted. You don't get strong between nationals and worlds because there's not enough time. You're only re-peaking again. You can't keep re-peaking, get stronger and stronger and stronger. It doesn't work that way. The idea is to build a new base so you can build higher up on it, off that base.
Mm-hmm. So for bench-only people or
a bench-only person could get away with three good meets a year.
And now we have the push-pulls.
Yeah.
3 or 2.
You could probably get away with 3.
Yeah.
But when you do all 3 together, I'd rather do 2 because I just had a preference. I just like to lay down that strong off season to get everything that was weak stronger, build it back up. Here's what I do in my eyes, is you got your strong point, you got your weak points. Your strong points are easily always going to get strong because that's what your body wants to do. Mm-hmm. These ones don't. But if you don't bring these ones up each time, there becomes too much of a gap. In that gap, all of a sudden, that's where injuries and bad technique happen. Then you don't make any progress and you say, fuck.
Yeah.
Or you get hurt and you quit.
Yeah, that's the pattern that I'm seeing right now. And these kids they love powerlifting. Obviously, they've seen your video, and you're an inspiration for a lot of people. And
I appreciate it. I don't abuse that. All you have to do is just be nice to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, how could you tell, or how you're gonna tell someone, slack, you need rest as hard as you train, or,
Well,
how would you do it?
You have a routine, and you have week 1 and week 10. You're not gonna make the week 10 numbers if you screw up in between. So just because something feels good doesn't mean you go off program. You stick to the program to get the end result that you want. You don't change it. Then after that's done, now you reset your numbers. Boom, you get stronger again. Then boom, you do it again. That's it.
It's that.
It's that simple. Stick to the program.
Yeah.
You'll get stronger. Programs are written for a reason.
Exactly. So in all your career, when you were getting toward the end, and what in your head, what happened? Or this is my last meet. Mm-hmm. This is it.
My hip had started hurting already.
Okay.
So I wanted to show that I could come back after I blew my knee out.
Yep.
And I did that. And I was okay with it.
It wasn't like I want to do it again, or
no.
Until
I was okay
to
with
this day.
I accepted it.
You're still okay with this?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
So what was a regular Ed Coan diet back in the day?
I pretty much ate whatever I wanted.
Okay.
But I made sure I got enough nutrients that I needed. My last meal every night was a steak at like midnight. So I made sure, but I did cheat on my diet a bunch. And I gauged that on where my body weight was for the comp.
And the supplements like protein shake and stuff like that, were you?
I really didn't take protein shakes.
No.
I ate more.
So you ate how many meals a week? How many meals a day?
4 to 5.
That's it?
I never had a huge appetite.
No.
Just made sure I got enough what I was supposed to.
And like your sleeping pattern, what time you were going to bed? And
late. After I had my steak.
And up early, or?
No.
So you were
at least 8 hours.
So whatever in the morning is.
Yeah.
So the after training life, so you still live in the U.S. of course, and you're traveling a lot. What have you seen a common point in all the seminars that you're doing in the attendees? Do they want to max out too much? Do they want to take their time?
The number one thing is technique flaws,
okay,
which will inhibit anybody's growth as far as muscular size, endurance, or strength in the long run. That's the number one thing. Then after that, it's people trying to go too heavy too often. Mm-hmm. You got to stick to your numbers, and each week has to build upon the next.
What's your take on percentage base?
Nothing wrong with it at all.
No?
There's almost nothing wrong with any of the types of trainings if you pick your numbers correctly and you're getting enough rest. Most of them all pretty much work.
Define rest for us, for you.
Recovery.
And
recovery
is
from
it like
one
a day
session to the next.
Is it would would it be like a day a week, like deload week? You know, we heard.
No, it does. I'm talking about the actual numbers picking decides whether or not you have a deload week or whatever. Your deload week should be actually sometimes factored in where on these weeks I could have a deload if I feel myself getting too stressed or I'm too tired one day. It should be factored in there. There were one of those weeks, it doesn't have to be exact, that you will have a lighter week.
So now, powerlifting was and still is your life, but your passion, we're talking about that is like fighting.
Fighting is just another avenue just so I could be athletic again, but I really, really like how to learn how to protect myself.
And what kind of...
It's more like, I think they call it more counter-violence or reality-based martial arts to what could really happen on the streets, or shopping, or getting in and out of your car, or wherever you're at, whatever could happen.
And how many days per week you do that?
Just a couple.
And you're a fan. I love guns. People know that.
I'm not a big fan of guns.
And
I like knives.
Knives, exactly. Tell us about that a bit more.
Well,
how that came along? You know?
Part of that is I watched a friend of mine who is unbelievable. He was an unbelievable JKD guy / counter-violence guy. And I watched him go through some stuff and I was like, this is like watching fucking John Wick or The Bourne Identity all in one. Because I was watching it happen in real time. And he actually said, punch me. He said, no, a lot faster. And he went boom, boom, and fucking hit me right in the face. And I was like, that is so cool. So he was like, yeah, you're meant for this stuff.
So this is where it started.
Yeah. I have a little bit of a passion to learn, just to get better with the limited time I have. And I really like it.
And this is, so are you planning on getting more of a collection of knives, or?
Oh, I have a knife porn collection already.
You want it to grow a bit?
It'll grow.
It will grow, yeah.
It'll grow.
So, how many seminars per year? And you
never count.
You never count?
No, I don't count them.
You go around the world, basically.
Yeah.
So what's the?
If I have the time and I'm not too tired, I'll make sure I'll set it up way in advance, and I'll do some.
So you were. Is there any, like in the knife or fighting that you do? Are you planning on teaching it on a regular basis, or it's just for fun?
No, I am an instructor.
Okay.
But I don't instruct.
Okay.
I just enjoy learning.
So the learning process, it's cool for you.
Yeah, and it never stops. I just try to get better. I'm not a badass or anything. I can defend myself. I just try to get better and learn what I can. I just like it.
So
I don't do it for anybody but me.
It's for fun. I
enjoy it.
You enjoy it.
But it makes me a little bit more in shape, and a little bit I can move a little bit better.
So it's some sort of a conditioning for you.
Sure.
I would say. So.
But it's also relieves my mind too. So.
How can you do that when you're away? Is there any ways that you're?
No, I could practice by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Punch a guy like me.
There's a lot of that's worthless. It's too easy. That's like it. No offense to all the little girls out there.
I'm a fat target. I don't run fast.
It's easy.
It's easy. I'm an easy target.
No, you could practice doing stuff by yourself.
So now you were here with the small group of
it was a nice private session.
So this private session that we had today, let's say that we're going squat, bench, and deadlift. All right. So what was the most common mistake that you've seen today in the squat?
Sternum up and head too low. And a lot of times you can have your head down, but this has to stay up. And then a lot of times the guys are letting, if they put their head down, they're letting their shoulders roll forward. They're not locking it in back there.
In the bench?
In the squat.
No, I mean now, the bench. So what was the most common mistake?
Not staying tight. Not locking in their shoulder blades underneath them, getting their chest way up high to keep everything tight.
I remember yesterday you corrected me on my feet mostly. They were too tight enough.
You weren't even though you have your heels off the ground, you weren't pushing hard enough against the ground to keep your lower body stable where it was moving like this, and then that affects your lower body and makes your upper body unstable also.
So it fuck up the thing. And in the deadlift.
In the deadlift, same thing. A lot of guys were not using their legs enough in the deadlift. They were doing all this pulling, but not pushing with their legs. So then they don't use their hips. Their hips sit up way high, so it makes it too hard to lock out.
So a question that pops to mind now with this, how many exercises should a powerlifter do in a training? Let's say you have the main lift. Total exercises.
At least 2 hard ones afterwards.
So 3 good ones.
Yeah. You can have some other little ones in there for balance, like especially in the shoulder area and stuff like that. But for the most part, you need the main exercise and at least 2 other ones. Pretty hard.
That's enough.
Yeah. Keep it simple.
Set and rep range for small muscle group.
For little small muscle groups, if it's an isolation exercise, usually I run my reps higher, 10 to 15 sometimes. And then if it's a low, if it's like a bent row, shoulder presses, stuff like that, sometimes I'll cycle them just like I would my bench or a squat.
And what about the main lift? Max rep you should do in a session?
Depending if you're young or old. If you're an old guy, you should keep your reps lower. You can up your volume a little bit, but you got to make sure you recover. For young guys, I would go as high as 10 reps in the off season.
Okay. And
both as conditioning, speed, then it helps you mentally out, actually helps perfect your technique a little bit more.
And in the in season?
In season?
Lower everything.
5. 5 at the most.
Yeah. That's good. So, now that being said, what would be the next, let's say 4 years for Ed Coan?
Same as what I'm doing now.
You like that, and it's...
I like it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. It's not accepting...
Get a little bit less pain in a few spots and make sure my health is good. That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So now, we're talking yesterday about old school powerlifting and new school powerlifting. Can you drop names that are still associated with old school powerlifting and people with new school powerlifting?
Well, old schools, a lot of them are Larry Pacifico, Kaz, those are old school. For the new guys now, I'm old school. Steve Goggins is old school. Gene Bell is old school. David Ricks, who still lifts, is old school, but he still looks fucking young. Dave Ricks, because of his longevity, is one of the GOATs. He's one of the greatest of all time. He's a phenomenal man too. Tony Harris is another guy. He's still lifting at a really, really high level. So there's some really, really good guys out there that are considered old school, that are older, that are 50 plus, that can still lift some weight. And Dave Tate would be considered old school.
True.
Yeah, there's a lot of great guys out there. Kirk, Brad Gillingham, ton of old school guys out there.
Jim
Wendler.
Yeah.
Wendler did a little bit of powerlifting, but Jim is fantastic at his strength and conditioning.
Okay.
Really, really good.
And that's a personal question that I have for you. It's but the people are gonna like that. You know, there's a controversy with the overhand and underhand in the deadlift.
I don't see a controversy.
You know, people are like, oh, you're doing it with underhand. You know,
I think whatever you prefer, you do.
You do what you do.
If you like to do hook grip and it puts you up in a good position, do hook grip. If you like to use a reverse grip or alternate grip, do that. I don't see the controversy.
Whatever works.
It's made up.
Yeah.
It's like sumo's cheating. That's just fucking made up.
That was the next question.
Don't care. I did both, so it doesn't matter.
Since the bar lift goes up.
You deadlift, you deadlift.
Yeah. So now obviously we're going to talk about your IPF stints.
I actually liked my time in the IPF. I learned how to lift correctly under great strict rules, and I fucking love that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I love the IPF the way when I lifted there.
So you started with them?
Yeah.
And then what was the other? How many federations?
Well, Ernie France was a good friend of mine, and Larry Pacifico. And when Ernie started the APF at the very beginning, I did some of that, and that was fine. I never got into multiply. APF. So then I left there and I went back to the IPF for a while.
Okay, so you went back and forth.
So I went back and forth.
So you did the world in the IPF. There's no.
Yeah.
And the APF is still on, or?
The APF is still going.
It's still going.
Yeah.
So
but there's so many federations.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as the judging is good, I don't care where anyone lifts, as long as the judging is good.
Judging is pretty much the same from federation to federation.
The rules are the same, but they don't.
Yeah.
Judging always isn't the same.
Yeah. So you did different kind of meets in different part of the world, obviously.
Yeah.
So where did you travel for different meets?
South Africa, Australia.
Ever one year in Canada?
In Canada.
You did that?
Oh yeah.
Where? In Canada? Was it?
I know there was one in Nova Scotia. I know that was one. I know there's another one somewhere else. Finland. You name it.
So you went around the world for that.
Yeah.
So everything comes down to teaching and passing on like your knowledge to young people. So what would, in one word, what would be the best advice that you would give to the next generation of, like, from you?
Keep it simple, stick to your routine.
Never quit.
Well, you're never going to quit if everything keeps going up. If you stick to routine, you'll never quit.
No.
People only quit because it gets too hard, and usually it gets too hard because your technique stinks, or you start picking your wrong numbers, overestimating what you can do, and it screws you up. And then you become really disheartened really quick. And you're like, shit, I don't like this anymore. Well, it's actually because you didn't stick to the routine and stay with the right numbers.
Well, how did you, last, before we close down the interview, how did you deal with, like, oh shit, I really missed that meet, numbers weren't there, or was it like, all right, I pick it up, next meet,
shit,
but that's it?
It's like, shit, it's over. I know what I did wrong, I won't do that again.
We were talking about, yesterday what you said, it was like a wonderful quote. It was,
the gym is for training,
exactly.
The platform is for proving it.
That's it.
That's it.
It's simple. And
train. You don't have to prove nothing in the gym, but what you do in the training you do in the gym is what makes the big lifts possible on the platform. Don't be a gym lifter, be a platform lifter. You're going in to meet for a reason, to win. So set yourself up to do your best job on the platform.
Less meat.
Don't leave it in the gym.
More, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't leave it in the gym.
So guys, that was Ed Coan for our little table talk. Hope you enjoyed it. So SSP Barbell Club is our page, and SSP.com, SSPBarbellClub.com is our web page. So make sure that you're following us. See you next time. Stay strong. Bye.